the members of their group were liquidated on the pretense that they were trying to implement Okham. No? I can show you a confidential report, but I'm not allowed to do so. But we know who these persons are. In fact, the ninja clubs existed long time before. You know who the ninja clubs are? These are the clubs who are involved in illegal drug activity, either as major players, big-time pushers, or protectors, or troubleshooters. And these are all, and this activity is not only limited to cops. There are also members who are in the BJMP. There are also members who are in the Bureau of Immigration. There are also those who are in the Bureau of Customs. No? In almost all units or branches of the government, there are members of these drug groups, even politicians, and not just limited to the barangay and LGU level, even up to the level of senators, secretaries. We were reporting this information to the previous administration, but the problem is it was not taken action. So what we did here, in the local, the regional offices, we just kept our mouth shut. Why? Because even the national leadership would not acknowledge the information that we are giving to them. Kung sa Bisaya pa, alams na. Meaning, we already know why. So that's how big the problem is. And that is the problem that they are trying to address right now. Now, what are the programs of the President? The first DDB regulation issued by the Dangerous Drugs Board, which is Board Regulation number 3, series of 2016, approved and adopted on August 3, 2016. What is this regulation all about? This is a guideline on handling voluntary surrender of drug personalities. This was the first resolution issued by the Dangerous Drugs Board. Okay? What is this animal all about? The purpose of this regulation is to establish clear guidelines to be followed by PDEA, PNP, NBI, other law enforcement units, national government agencies, and local government units in dealing with self-confessed surrenderer who voluntarily submitted themselves to authorities and admitted their involvement in the illegal drug trade. When you say involvement in the illegal drug trade, it doesn't mean you are a drug addict or drug user, but it means you are a drug pusher because you are involved in illegal drug trade. But there are classifications of those who are involved in illegal trade. You could either be a courier, you could either be a runner, you could either be a financier, a pusher. But certainly, you are involved in the illegal drug trade. That is the reason why the President came out with an initial listing. And then those persons who are allegedly involved in illegal drug trade were included in the set list. The problem is, the first list that was released was not reviewed. That is why you would notice some of the names that were included there are either already dead, already resigned. No? Because that was the list that we submitted still during the time of Director Santiago Director General Santiago, hindi na-sanitize. Because PDEA and other law enforcement units were pressured to come out with at least, it was haphazardly done. No? Kaya may mga governors na na-involved, may mga judges, patay na pala. No? But most of those who are included in the list, no, were verified as involved in illegal drug trade. May mga konting kamalian. No, but 80% of that were verified as involved in the illegal drug trade. This is very, very important. Voluntary surrender by drug personality shall not be an assurance that they will not be subjected to drug law enforcement operation when they engage in illegal drug activity, even after the voluntary surrender. No? Even if you already surrendered, but you still continue with your illegal drug activity, we would operate against you. And it would be more easier for us to do that because we already have the necessary information. Because if you surrender, you'll be required to give the necessary data. Even your residence, we would require you to make a sketch. And then if you still continue, if you still insist on continuing with your illegal drug activity, then we will operate against you. In fact, I had a personal experience of that. No, somebody surrendered to our office, and I was advising him during the processing of his surrender that he should stop in being involved in illegal drug activity. But he still insisted to continue with his activity. So 3 days after, he was killed. 3 days after, he was killed. I just would not mention the name of that person because he's already dead. No? The latest was the barangay captain of Pangyan. No? He surrendered to Kalinan police station. He was brought by the chief of police of Kalinan to our office, alleging that he surrendered. I talked to him. I told him you should comply with these requirements of our office so that you would be somehow be cleared by our office. He never came back. After about 3 months, a day before the barangay election, he was killed. I think you know the name. I just won't mention the name. No? So that is a classic example of this condition. Okay. The second regulation issued by the Dangerous Drugs Board was Board Regulation number 4, series of 2016, approved and adopted on September 19, 2016. What is this regulation all about? The purpose of which is to provide effective mechanisms or measures to reintegrate into society individuals who have fallen victims of drug abuse or drug dependence through sustainable programs of treatment and rehabilitation. This time, our main concern are the drug users. No? How we can rehabilitate them, how we can reform them. The problem is, in Davao region, we only have 2 rehabilitation centers, which can accommodate about 300, max 500. The problem is, in Davao region alone, the surrenderers were about 100,000 plus. So how can you accommodate that with the 500 bed capacity of the rehabilitation centers? Again, there is a problem. We dub it as Oplan Sagip. Oplan Sagip or SAVE. Sakip say. Tama ba? Bisaya na ba kayo? Ikaw Tagalog. Okay. What is this Oplan Sakip? It is a guideline on the voluntary surrender of drug users, independence, and monitoring mechanism ng Barangay Anti-Drug Abuse Council. No? The main concern of this regulation is the reactivation of the products or the Barangay Anti-Drug Abuse Council, which would in turn monitor the progress of those persons who surrendered, meaning the drug users. No? Since rehabilitation centers run by the DOH cannot accommodate all the drug surrenderers, all the drug users who surrendered, the LGUs established the CBRAP. What is this CBRAP? In the first 3 months of the Duterte administration, almost 3 billion users, not really users, more or less 3 million Filipinos surrendered, either drug users or drug pushers. No? If you still can remember, this was a time that the gymnasiums of different barangays were filled with people trying to surrender, and then all the law enforcement that these barangay officials would not know who among their constituents are involved into illegal drugs. The problem is they are either afraid, no, of those drug groups, the drug syndicates. They are either indifferent, they don't give a damn, or they are either involved. Another regulation issued by the Dangerous Drugs Board is DDB Board Regulation number 3 series of 2017, approved and adopted on February 14, 2017. What is this regulation all about? The strengthening of the implementation of Barangay Drug Clearing Program. The program of the government, the primary target is the grassroots level, which is the barangay. Because our rationale is, if you will be able to clear the barangay, it would be, the municipality would somehow, after a time, it would also be clear. No? You should start on the grassroots level, which is the barangay. For this was the assessment made by the DDB, no, at the PDEA. Out of 42,036 barangays nationwide, 57% of which are considered drug affected. 57%. This includes the barangays in the far-flung areas. Now, as of 2018, the drug-cleared barangays is already 5,372 nationwide, which represents 13%. The unaffected barangays, 12,527, which is 30%. And the affected barangays is 24,137. PDEA's target for 2018 is we will be able to clear 5,127 barangays nationwide. Now, these are the classification of the drug-affected barangays. Slightly affected, meaning there is a presence of drug user. Slightly affected na siya. Moderately affected, presence of drug pusher and presence of users. Moderately affected na. Seriously affected, there is either the presence of clandestine laboratory, warehouse, marijuana plantation, drug den, no? Kung saan man ang drug den. Units should be competing against each other. They would be trying to outdo each other. Now, what we do is the achievement of one is the achievement of all. No? It is a holistic approach to the drug problem. It is not only law enforcement. No? The ICAN is composed of 4 clusters. We have the justice cluster, we have the law enforcement cluster, we have the rehabilitation and reintegration cluster, and we have the preventive cluster. On January 24, 2018, DDP Regulation Number 2, Series of 2018 was issued. What is this all about? This is the so-called Balay Silangan. What is Balay Silangan? Balay Silangan is a halfway reformatory house where drug offenders who surrendered under DDP Number 3, Series of 2016 are given intervention, counseling, livelihood training, with the end view of helping them to become more productive and law-abiding citizens once they reintroduced and reintegrated to the society. Another function is it would also serve as a reformation instrument for those who avail of plea bargaining in the light of the decision by the Supreme Court in the case of Stipona versus Judge Frank Rodrigo, decided on August 15, 2017. What is this case all about? It now allows plea bargaining. Before, it is not allowed. No? But there is that particular provision in RA 165 which was declared as unconstitutional. So now, plea bargaining is only allowed. And we are trying to anticipate the influx or the coming out of those who avail of the plea bargaining. Problema na naman to. It also would serve as an alternative intervention program for drug personalities who are not eligible to admitted in treatment and rehabilitation facilities supervised by the Department of Health. In short, Balay Silangan is intended for the drug pushers. It is not for the drug users. In the Balay Silangan, they will be given counseling, they will be given moral recovery program, and most important, they will be provided with the necessary livelihoods or skill to give them an alternative source of income. So that when they will be coming out of prison, they won't go back to be involved in the illicit drug trade. The problem before was, okay, granting, a person was caught, he was convicted, he was imprisoned, and then granting that the penalty is not reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment, after some time he will be coming out of the prison. Question, when he comes out of the prison, what would he do? If he has no necessary, or if he has no alternative source of income, naturally he will be going back to being involved in the illicit drug. And then after a while, he would again be caught. The worst is the family of these persons would also be involved in illegal drug activity. Why? Because they don't know any source of income except being involved in illegal drug trade. A classic example of which is those who are pajak or the tricycle drivers. The tricycle driver would normally earn like 200 pesos a month. No? then he would say, it is very tiring in this job, I have to use drugs so that I would have energy. And he would just be earning 200 pesos a day. It cannot sustain his drug habit. What would he do? He would start as a courier or runner. For every delivery made, he would be, let us say, making an income of 200. He would be able to deliver 3 times in a day. He would have 600 pesos. So that's how fast money is in the illegal drug trade. We are trying to cut this cycle by implementing balay silangan. Sad to say, we're still not yet able to fully implement this program, but we are on the road of implementing this program. In fact, General Santos City already has balay silangan. Davao wala pa. Where would the funding come from? The primary source of the funds for balay silangan is the LGU. After the LGU, the private corporation. What is the rationale for the private corporation to be encouraged to fund this balay silangan? They're giving, some of these private corporations are giving revolutionary tax to the left. Rather than giving the funds to the left, what they should do is fund this balay silangan. And then this should be considered as tax deductible because it is under the Corporate Social Responsibility Program. This is also one way of depriving funds to the left. What is the penalty for non-compliance? For government officials, we would be filing the appropriate criminal and administrative charges. For NGOs who would not comply, disapproval of their annual budget. So, this way, they will be coerced to cooperate. For a good reason. Lessons learned in Davao City. Davao City nearly became a drug-free city, meaning minimal drug supply. What is the reason? Disciplined law enforcers. Scalawags or hearing law enforcers are kicked out of the city. They would either be transferred, or if they would not listen, they would meet their creator. If they're hard-headed. In fact, when I first entered PDEA, when I talked to the president, he told me, Benjo, trabaho lang. Don't worry. If you are doing your job, I have your back. But if I hear that you are in any way involved in illegal drugs, do not expect to leave. And then I told him, yes, sir. That's how simple the president told me. Times up na down. The drug problem is a nerve-wracking truth. This is a problem. But be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem. Do not harm, you help. Ang gwapo ng presidente. This was taken during the culmination of our SWAT class 2013, which I was a member of. That's it. Thank you and good day, everyone.
Alright, thank you so much. We have just really, have the best of our speakers for this conference. Thank you so much, Attorney Ben Joseph of TESIORNA. I wouldn't be wondering if one of these days I can see your face in the national TV being interviewed because you are part of the national team. Alright, any question from the floor? afraid with attorney TESIORNA. Yes, he won't bite, but he will just list you for the tukhang. Tukhang, taphang. But that's really good, the taphang, tapuk, and hangyo. Like gather up and then you request them to stop. I think that's awesome. Okay, any question from the floor? Yeah, okay, so if there's none, don't really be afraid. But I think Attorney TESIORNA really did a great talk about the PDEA because, sir, before your arrival, prior to your arrival, the first plenary speakers talked about PNP, PDEA, and TOCAM. So there's actually like an interesting discussion about who really should be doing the TOCAM, the PDEA or the PNP, and the confusion of the TOCAM word. Is it for PNP or for PDEA? But we have already settled that matter, and at this point, since no one dares to ask a question, so we're opening the floor for a general forum. Okay. Alright, so let me again award this certificate of recognition since no one would like to ask any questions, further questions, to the Attorney Ben Joseph TESIORNA, the Acting Assistant Regional Director of PDEA Region 11, for delivering an insightful talk as speaker in the first international conference on inmates transformative education for successful re-entry, signed by our President, Dr. Lourdes Sangralao, and the President of SEPBI, Dr. Alan David Maisel. Once again, I would like to request Dr. Alan Maisel and Dr. Lourdes Sangralao to award the certificate of recognition to Attorney Ben Joseph TESIORNA. For a general open forum for those who would like to raise some issues or some concerns. Yes, Ma'am Sharon? Alright. Okay, so if there's none, before, since no one would like to ask questions or an insight, or would you like to share something? I for myself, let me do something since I have been taking this podium since day one. So listening to all the great talks of our speakers, I have actually put all of these things in mind, and I would like to share this one to you before we have Attorney Cariaga to close the program. But before that one, we're going to have the photo opportunity, of course. I have this not just sensitivities, but these are what I have taken, my takeaways for this two-day international conference, which I believe you also share the same thing. That reformation is like education. It is a journey, not a destination. And it doesn't end in contemplation only. It doesn't end like, oh, I did something. Because we need to act. And for those incarcerated men and women, of course, we don't have to wait for that. No, we have to make something that we can regret for the rest of our lives. But for those incarcerated men and women, second chance is not given to make things right, but it is given to prove that we could be better even after we fall or we fail. Okay, we just do not fail or fall in love, but in great things or great decisions in life. The college behind bars, or the college education behind bars, this is what I have actually realized, is giving those behind bars a chance to access education. And reforming, or it's also giving them a chance to reform their lives and values, for them to rebuild their future and to reunite with their families. So this is such a wonderful program that, of course, we can be part of. We can support. And your presence here is a manifestation of that support. And why not, let's give a round of applause to everyone who's here in the social hall for a great job for this program. Okay, and since no one would like to say something, we have one from the floor, and we have one participant who will give a general impression regarding our topics or for the program this afternoon. As senior pastor of Jesus Amazing Family, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have with us Pastor Abel Alchico.